Black Widow. This is the first MCU movie we've seen ever since Spider-Man Far From Home, and it's the first one in Phase 4. And like a lot of movies this year, this was supposed to come out last year. It got pushed back. I do remember seeing the trailer sometime in like early 2020, late 2019, something like that. And I would say I was fairly excited for this movie. I am a fan of the MCU overall. I definitely like some of those movies more than others, but overall I do think it's been a pretty consistent franchise for the last 13 years now. And I do really like the character of Black Widow, or Natasha Romanoff, ever since I first saw her in The Avengers. I know that she makes her first appearance in Iron Man 2, but when I saw The Avengers back in 2012, I hadn't seen Iron Man 2 yet, so that was really my introduction to that character. And Scarlett Johansson is great as always as that character, and definitely one of the standouts, I think. And really, the entire cast is one of the biggest standouts of this movie. Florence Pugh in this movie, basically playing like the other Black Widow, kind of a sister figure to Natasha, and she's good as well. We have Rachel Weisz and David Harbour as kind of the parental figures of those two characters, and they're both very good too. And I particularly like David Harbour. He plays the Red Guardian, and he has also the super soldier serum, the kind of thing that Captain America has. And so I found that to be pretty interesting, how strong he was, as well as just a lot of the comedy coming from that character. And I really enjoyed the setup that we get with these characters right in the opening scene, which is a flashback to 1995. And that's not a spoiler, by the way, that was in the trailer. I thought that scene did a really good job of setting up where these characters end up, like roughly, I think it's 23 years later. Knowing like what happens later on in the movie and what all these characters come across definitely makes me want to rewatch just that scene and see if there's anything that maybe was hidden that I would pick up on now having seen the rest of the movie. And with all these other Marvel movies, you know, you have a good amount of action scenes, you have plenty of CGI, special effects, all that stuff, and it's good. It doesn't really stand out that much to me though. There isn't anything quite on a level as like some of the action in The Winter Soldier or in, say, Civil War. But when it is there, it is definitely entertaining and definitely not stale in any way. Although there were a couple shots where the CGI definitely could have been better. Specifically this one shot of Black Widow where she almost looked like that scene in The Matrix Reloaded when Neo was fighting all those different agents and he looks like a balloon. It just kind of reminded me of that. But also, like most Marvel movies, or I would say maybe 50-50, the villain in this movie is extremely lacking and extremely weak. Nothing against Ray Winstone's performance. I thought he was fine, and actually he does have a pretty good scene with Natasha. This one moment where they have some pretty good banter, and there's some pretty good tension in that scene as well. But he's just a typical evil guy. Like, I mean, no depth at all to his character. He's just greedy and evil and just wants to do evil things, and there's nothing else to dissect. That's it. I think maybe my biggest flaw with this movie is just that I feel like they could have done more. There were a lot of things that were good but not great. It just comes off to me as if they weren't trying that hard to make a great movie. They were just trying to make a movie that was good enough, you know, a good enough Marvel movie, a good enough movie to go back to the theater to watch. And I just felt like they didn't really reach a level that they could have with the quality of it, because there are moments in this movie with the plots that do feel kind of rushed and a little bit abrupt, and especially with the way that things wrap up towards the end, it just kind of ends. Like I thought there was going to be like at least 20 or 30 more minutes. This movie's over 2 hours long, and it goes by really quickly, which normally I would consider a good thing, but in this case I feel like there definitely could have been more time added, even though it is already over 2 hours long. So that's not a very good thing when a movie is already kind of getting long and you feel like they could have added more time to it. Overall, I would definitely say I had a good time with this movie. I was entertained for the most part throughout it. It's nice to obviously see a Marvel movie again in a theater. It's been about 2 years now, so it's great to be back seeing these movies. It is, in my opinion, far from the best that the MCU has offered us, but it's definitely not the worst one. I'm going to give Black Widow a B-. Let me guys know what you think of this in the comments if you have seen it, or if you're looking forward to it, or how would you rank it amongst all the other Marvel movies. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Thanks again so much for watching, and peace out.